In my last video, I showed off some new soup speedruns that were pretty tough. Some took me several hours to beat, but I wanted to beat a level even harder. I hadn't committed to a full level grind since coming back to Maker 1, and I found the perfect level. It's an 80-second speedrun with some really fun movement, and it's all centered around spiny shelmets. I knew when I picked this level that I was going to be in for the long haul, but what I didn't know was that I wasn't the only one attempting it. I found out that one of my friends, Gerald, was also playing the level, and he's extremely good, so it wasn't going to be easy to get the first clear. You've been watching the intro to the level, but the difficulty slowly ramps up throughout. In this section, you're above the thumbnail pixel art, which includes a lot of sprites, so the hardest part is actually managing the lag that happens because of that. It's also really tricky to get the right momentum on this spiny shell as it gets to the end of the conveyor. Once you're in the door, you can see the axe, but we're still a long way from victory. To get in the pipe, you activate this hidden block on a rail, and then jump off it and ground pound to gain a little bit of extra height to get in the pipe. Then you have to throw some shells to bounce off of, do a shell jump, and activate this section's spiny. Then you have to do some tight one-block spin jumps and chase the shell down to the next section. I really struggled to figure out what to do here. I was always going too fast and I couldn't figure out how to slow down. Fortunately, Gerald let me know that I was missing a wall jump, which made the mid-air shell lineup work almost every time. The next section was really cool. You use the conveyor speed to line up this mid-air bounce, and then the shell starts moving really fast in this wide open space. Then you have some really tight spin jumps on piranhas and thwomps, and some more shellmet bounces between lots of spikes before you eventually put the shellmet on and do an extremely tight damage boost to enter the door. This last subworld section is really cool as well. You bounce off the spiny shellmets as normal, but then you do a tight ground pound stall to make it to the one safe block for a wall jump and make it in the pipe. Then it's just a matter of doing a fast wall jump and holding right to make it in the final door. On Friday night, my best run died to the thwomp section, just 2 rooms away from the end. I tried to get back there, but I could feel the fatigue setting in, so I had to quit for the night. I knew that Gerald wouldn't be far behind me, but I had to rest. I ended the night 7 hours into the grind. The next day, I logged back on and checked the level, and my heart sank. 7 hours had been for nothing. The level had a clear, but when the me loaded, to my surprise, it wasn't Gerald. Turns out, Fast was also playing the level. Fast is a crazy good Kaizo player. He was the first clear on Bombs 5, the hardest uploaded level in the game, and if you've seen my Mario Maker History series, you might remember that he was very nearly first clear on FF3 as well. I'm disappointed that I didn't get the clear, but I will be back for this level. I'm saving it in my core spot so when the servers go down, I can finish what I started. I wasn't going to let this deter me from grinding hard levels though. I noticed that Catster had cleared all but one level from Switzerland, and he couldn't beat the last one because it was his own. He had a clear video showing that you had to escort one green shell all the way to the end from the beginning, and it looked really cool but also not insanely hard. So I got to work. In my editor practice, my Twitch chat helped me come up with some cheese to make the final trick much more consistent. In fact, after just a little bit of practice, I was extremely good at the entire subworld. I was working backwards through the level, so then I started to learn this section with Yoshi and the cape. It was definitely the hardest part of the level, but with a good amount of practice, I was confident that I could beat the level. I booted it up in Course World and was shocked to find out just how precise this first bomb section was. You had to have the bomb explode in just the right spot or else it would either kill the shell, not blow up the block, or strangely cause the shell to get flung way faster than intended. Then you needed to drop the spring low enough that the shell could land on it later on in the level, while also getting high enough to give the shell enough time to move past the sideways spring. Much harder than it looked in the clear video. My first session lasted 6.5 hours, and while I had some pretty good runs, I never made it to the subworld. In my second session, I got way more consistent at the precise bomb intro. I had figured out a pattern that I could replicate, and as a result, I was getting way more attempts to the Yoshi section. I had already practiced the subworld, and I could hit the whole thing with about 50% consistency, which meant, mathematically, I should only need 2 runs to beat it. Math doesn't account for everything, though. On my third run to the subworld, I ran into a very unexpected problem. I had been practicing the subworld with a beetle, just so I didn't have to deal with the koopaling inside the shell. I thought the shells were functionally the same, but I was apparently wrong. I watched helplessly as my run died in the most unexpected way. What?! I literally tested this in editor to come up with the most consistent setup that I could. From this moment on, my session was cursed. I got subworld after subworld, all dying in a worse way than the last, until finally I got on a great run. I made it to the P-switch door, hit all the jumps afterwards, and then I missed the last shell jump. All that was left after that was the nigh that we found cheese for. It was almost impossible to die after that shell jump, but I just couldn't pull it off. I kept going, and I kept having stupid deaths. Eventually, it was 1 in the morning, and I had to be up at 7. I had spent 12 hours on the level. I made a declaration to my chat. I would get in the pipe one more time, a single run to the subworld, and then I would have to end stream. This is that run. Ending shell jump. And that's what prevented me from beating this. Here we go. Focus up. It's time to retire. I had failed yet again, in the exact same way. Remember, in practice, I was 50% consistent at the entire subworld, but when it mattered, my mentality prevented me from clearing it. I would be back the following day, and I knew that I would beat this level relatively quickly. So with a heavy heart, I ended stream. There's no happy ending to this story. I wasted 20 hours on 2 levels. Existence is only pain.